welcome everyone. Thank you for being here, like I said a million times. Today so I've done a couple of healing circles in the past, but none of them have been as structured as the one that I'm doing today. Like this one, I have like a very clear exercise that we're gonna be like going through together. So there's like a bit of me that's like nervous because I have it like all written in my notes, but then I'm scared that I'll like miss something, but it's fine. To get myself less stressed out and to also help you all like settle into this space and like get ready for diving into ourselves, I'm going to be leading us through a breathwork technique. This is called, like you might be familiar with it, it's called alternate nostril breathing, but it has ancient Vedic roots. So it comes from ancient India, and the Vedic Sanskrit name for this kind of breathwork is called 𝙨𝙨𝙗𝙨𝙧𝙞𝙗 I literally went to YouTube before to be like, I hope I pronounce this right, because I've been in a lot of different healing circles and things, and I find it really important, like when we take just practices from different cultures, it's so important to like mention where it's coming from. And because I'm South Asian and have Indian lineage, it was important for me to mention. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to play some really chill music in the back. We're going to close our eyes. Sorry, Luna's in the background, by the way, and she's playing with her water. So if you hear anything, that's her. I'm going to be playing some music, and then I'm going to be leading us through this breath work. We'll do it for a couple of minutes, and then I'll move into our thing that we need the paper and pencil for. So just give me a second. I also, like, before this call, learned so much about Zoom and all of the features that it has, and it's pretty cool. So, okay, so I'm sharing computer sound. Okay, let me know if you can hear that. Yeah? Let me know is it okay at a level? Like, can you hear me still? Okay, perfect. So, the way that this alternate nostril breathing works is, first of all, the purpose of it is to kind of like, I do this a lot when I'm feeling really scattered and I feel like, thank you, I feel like my mind is like in a billion different places at once. It really helps me come back to center and come back into the present moment and help me focus on what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And spiritually, from a spiritual perspective, which I really wanted to share, in Vedic philosophy, alternate nostril breathing is energetically balancing the left and right hemispheres of your brain. So if you remember from science class, the left hemisphere of your brain is, I think, the facts, the logic, the linear thinking. It's like the very like straightforward, rational facts, like all of that. And then the right hemisphere of your brain is the one that's kind of in charge of like imagination and visualization and creativity and intuition. And so, as some of you may know, there's two different kinds of main energies that live within each of us. Like it's like the yin and yang, so the masculine and the feminine. And the masculine energy is the one that coincides with the left hemisphere of the brain. So it's like very like let's get this shit done. Whereas the feminine is the right hemisphere, where it's like all about reflection and like making sure that we like kind of have our ideas in place before we actually go on and take action on them. And I thought this was also really cool for the specific activity we're doing today, because in this activity, the purpose of it is to kind of gain more clarity into what we're doing with our lives so that we can actually go ahead and move forward with it and take action. So just go ahead and take a couple of deep breaths, just regular. And you're gonna take your two fingers, your thumb and your whatever, and you're going to like put them over your nose. And we're gonna be like blocking one nostril and then blocking the other one throughout this activity. So we're gonna start off by whichever nostril you wanna block first. Go ahead and block it, and then take an inhale through the open nostril. And then we're gonna switch and exhale through the other one. And then we're gonna inhale again through the one that we just exhaled through. Switch, exhale, inhale, switch, exhale, inhale, switch, exhale, inhale, switch, exhale, inhale. And we're just going to keep doing that for the next couple of minutes, and then I'll let you know when to stop. You can go ahead and close your eyes to really get into it. Now you can let go, unplug both nostrils, and just take some regular deep breaths in and out. And open your eyes when you're ready. How was that? Also, 18 people in here. Hello, thank you for coming. Make sure that everyone's on mute while I'm talking, and then I will have another space in the rest of the call for you to share if you want. Now I'm like really zoned out. Okay. So today we are going to be going through this exercise that I don't know if it's called the Wheel of Life, but I really like calling it the Wheel of Life. And what it is the way that I think about it, I really find this helpful to do whenever I'm kind of feeling just like I've ended some sort of cycle in my life, and it's like I'm now about to start something new, but I'm quite unclear about like where I need to be going next or what I need to be focusing on first. It's like in the graphic that I had promoting this thing, it's like for anyone who kind of feels dissatisfied, like you know something's off in your life, but you might not necessarily know how to fix it or how to deal with it, or even where in your life needs fixing. So this circle of life is really going to help it's going to be kind of like a map that kind of shows you what aspects of your life need some love and energy first. Because sometimes I feel like when we think about our life, there's so many different areas. It's like, oh, I like don't really like how I'm living in terms of relationships right now, and also my career is kind of fucked up, and also I don't know what's happening with my friendships, and it could be super overwhelming to kind of make positive changes in our life when we feel so like bombarded with all these problems. So hopefully by the end of this call, you're going to have a clear idea of what you need to be prioritizing first, and then also having a couple of steps written down to actually work on, like very tangible things to do that can actually help you move forward in that area. So for this, I thought this was really fun. Like, I didn't know Zoom let you do this, but I can actually link up the Zoom call to my iPad and then go through this activity with you, which is really cool. I'm just gonna move over my notebook. And I'm just gonna be sharing my screen, and you can follow along. Okay. everybody see my screen? Can you also see me? Like on the side somewhere? Like, hi. Okay, cool. So everyone take out your pens and papers, or your pencils, or your crayons, or your highlight, whatever. And what we're gonna do first is we're just going to draw a circle. I'm just free drawing, so don't mind any crazy lines. I also have this is just water, by the way. I just thought I've been doing this recently. I've just been drinking water out of a wine glass because it like instantly makes me feel leveled up. Okay, does everyone have their circle now? Okay, so now we're going to be dividing. Oops, what was that? Hey, who's drawing on that? Someone drawing? What is that? Does everyone see the red too? Weird. What happens if I clear it? Is someone... Oh. Okay, no one draw on the actual screen, please. Thank you. I don't know who that was. Okay, so let's draw that circle again. Okay, perfect. And then we're going to divide this circle into 8 sections. So that's 4. And then that's 8. My hand's shaking. Okay. I'll give you a couple seconds to draw that in. Okay, perfect. Ooh, 21 participants. Hello for everyone who's joined. Okay, so next we're going to pick whatever slice of the pie that we want to pick first, and we're going to write down, let's start with fun and recreation. And we're just going to write this next to the pie. Okay, perfect. And we're gonna choose another pie and we're gonna label it love plus relationships. Just put this down. And then the next one is going to be our environment. Actually, my environment. So this is referring to physical environment, whether it's like home environment, work environment, just anywhere that we spend our physical, anywhere that our physical body goes, like just that kind of, what does that feel like? Next one is finances. I'm just gonna keep going now. Finances. Then there's career / contribution to the world. And then after I'm done these, I'll kind of go around the circle and kind of give a more context as to what each thing kind of represents. And then the next one is personal development. Oh guys, by the way, now you're all seeing my handwriting. / spirituality. And then friends and family. And the last one is health and fitness. Okay, I'm just gonna have this up now while everyone finishes writing it in on their paper, and I'll go through and tell you what each one means. So obviously up here, fun and recreation is pretty, all of these are pretty like straightforward, but I'm just gonna go through for anyone who doesn't really know what it means. So fun and recreation refers to the part of our life that we dedicate it to just like playing, you know, like having fun, like going to the park, like hanging out with friends, like going to restaurants, doing cool things, like all of that area, okay? And then love and relationships is straightforward. Our love life, our relationship life. The personal environment is what I said earlier. It's like our home, like how we feel in our home, how we feel at work, how we feel in the different areas that we frequent in our day-to-day lives. Finances is straightforward. Career / contribution to the world is... Actually, you know what? I feel like it'll be easier to first let me explain what we're doing and then go through all of it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to look at each little pie and we're going to give it a rating based on how we feel we're at this time in our life in that section. So from a scale of 1 to 10. So I wrote this down earlier. I'm just going to make it another color. So I'm going to start with love and relationships. So earlier when I was trying to think about where I felt like I was in the love and relationship section of my life, aspect of my life, from a scale of 1 to 10, the number that popped up was 7. So I would write 7 out of 10 in that section. And then for my physical environment, the number that I had was 9. And basically what I want you to do is go through each like section of the pie and try to figure out, like, when you think about, for example, friends and family, when you think about health and fitness, how would you rate that in your life? Like 10 being, it's like perfect, I don't need to change anything. And then 1 being like, oh, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this area. So career and contribution to the world is like, how do you feel about your career right now? Like, do you think that it's in line with what you want to be doing in the future? Like, do you feel good about how you're contributing to the world through your work, or just even if you're contributing to the world in a way through something that isn't making you money? It's like that. I've just kind of piled it all in together there. Personal development and spirituality is the section where it's like, how well do we think or how much time or energy and stuff are we dedicating to our self-growth? And do we feel like we need to be dedicating more time? Do we feel like we need to be, that it's fine, that it's good? Maybe we need to be dedicating less time. I don't know. I think all my time is dedicated now to personal development, so it's fun. And then friends and family, health and fitness, so on. So I'm just gonna fill my numbers in, and a tip that I would like to give is try not to overthink it too much. Whatever your first number, so when I think about fun and recreation, whatever the first number is that pops up in my mind, that's kind of like my intuitive... Sorry, someone's... Okay, 1 second. Someone has a question. Arham, you wanna switch the 2 to everyone so everyone can see your chat? Also, go ahead and type in questions.
Can I just ask my question?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, like, the difference between love and relationships and friends and family. Because sometimes friends could count as, like, is love and relationships specifically? I'm just kind of curious about the overlap.
For sure. So for me, basically, this is like a very open-ended thing. So whatever you personally want to classify love and relationships under, that's fine. For me personally, I have love and relationships as specifically like my relationship with Garrett, and hi Garrett, and also like the reason why it's not 10, by the way, because he's perfect, but the reason why it's not 10 is because I'm kind of doing a lot of work on sexual healing right now. So that's like down to a 7. So it's like anything that's related to my one-on-one relationship with Garrett and love and sex and all of that. And then friends and family is like literally like family members, friend groups, just non-romantic kind of things. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Hi, Arham. That's my sister, by the way, everyone.
Another question. Oh, sorry to interrupt. I've got another question.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, for sure.
My environment thing, so like, I mean, my home environment and like work environment, and it's really different, so I don't know how to give it a number.
You can also just do it in 2 separate, you can write 2 numbers down if you really want to, but try to think of like the average, you know, like if you would average, but also like if one, for example, if your work environment is perfect, but your home environment is down, you could also just relabel it to be like home environment instead of just general environment. Or you could have two numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'll, like, by the end of this, you'll kind of see how it'll fit in together. But for now, just go with the flow, and it's like no one's looking at yours. Like, this is just for you, so whatever comes out is totally fine. And then you could also revisit it again after this call is over. So yeah, is that all the questions so far? Okay. Thank you for asking, everyone. Because sometimes when I'm talking, like, I don't know how clear it's coming off, so it's really helpful for you all to just let me know. So I'm just going to go around and write in the numbers that I had set up, and then you guys do the same. Also, try not to, what I was saying earlier was like, just go with the initial number. Like, try not to judge yourself too hard. The more honest you are with yourself in this, the more helpful it will be to yourself in the future when you actually reflect on it. So... Sorry, there was a siren and I didn't want it to kill the vibe. Okay. Also, hi Paris, thanks for coming. Okay, so is everyone pretty much done jotting down the thing? Like I said, you can always revisit it again later on. If you go back and look at it, you're like, no, you know what, actually, I want my environment to be a 10. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so now we are going to look at each pie, and based on the number that we've selected, we're going to draw a line. So for example, let me just draw it out for you, it's easier. So for example, if this is like 10, for the one that's 10, I'm going to be filling in the whole thing. Maybe I should choose a different number. Different color. Let's do that one. I feel like it's still messed up. Okay, so 10 is like the whole pie is going to be colored in. For 8, this is rough too, by the way. So 8 maybe there, 7's maybe here, 9's here, 5 is right in the middle, 8, 10, and then 9. And we are, oops, that might be a different color. Let's color it in. This is why I like the iPad, because I'm like, oh, look how easy this is for me. Just dragging it in. Okay, cool. I'll give you a couple seconds for that, and I'll sip my water again. I feel like whenever I'm like trying to calm down, I just drink water. Emily, I did have cacao this morning. I had an extra higher dosage than I usually do. And Marnie, that's amazing. It's honestly like it really changes the mood. Whenever I'm feeling down, I just start drinking water out of a wine glass, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so luxurious right now. Also, Emily, thanks for coming. Okay, cool. Does everyone have their circles colored in? Pretty much. Okay, cool. So now we have a pretty good kind of like rough snapshot of like, this is what my life looks like to me right now. I am lowest in my finances. That's the aspect of my life that needs the most work, in my opinion. Oh, the 7 and the 5 is kind of whatever. And And then it's like love and relationships is lower too, because actually I'm going to go through what I'm doing next with this, so I'll explain it more. And when I was doing this activity, when I first learned it, it was with my coach back in April. And something that she said about it that I thought was a really good visual in my mind was, she said like, okay, so now look at your little circle and visualize yourself like rolling the circle on a flat surface. Like, is it going to be able to continue rolling, or is it going to get stuck somewhere? So if I look at, it's kind of hard to know if mine is going to roll, because I feel like because the 5 is, if it rolled on this side, I feel like it would be good, and then it would kind of get stuck here and maybe just like lie flat in finances. And so the metaphor is like, if your circle is rolling and it can continue rolling itself, you're pretty much quite balanced in your life. Like maybe you're not, so this would work like even if you're all at a 5, even though you're not living your best life as if it was all a 10, you're still able to move. There's nothing really resisting you from moving forward. But if you have any aspect of your life, any slice of the pie that's lower, that's going to get you stuck, that is going to inhibit your progress moving towards the goals that you want for yourself. So the next step that we're going to do after this is we're going to take a look at our circles, and we're going to see which sections are the lowest. So for me, the 2 lowest are finances and love and relationships right now. And we're now going to try to think about what are some things that we can do to enhance this area of our life. Like, what is something that I could start doing maybe today, like maybe tomorrow, like, I mean, not something that I can start doing in like a couple months, but what is something that I can actually start focusing on immediately that can boost this area? So when I was writing this down earlier, for me, for starting with finances, which is my lowest, thinking of 3 things that would help me boost this area. The number 1 thing was hosting these kind of monthly circles where people kind of can get a glimpse of like what coaching even is, because I know that a lot of people that follow me in my audience, or even in real life, like they know me as like a content creator. And then when I started saying that I'm a coach now, a lot of people didn't really know what that meant. So I was hoping by having these monthly circles that are like free / pay what you feel, that it would open up the space for those who are like unwilling to like fully commit financially, but also like get a sense of what is out there from me that they could have for themselves. You know what I mean? And like maybe attract, like the reason I'm doing the monthly circles is for sure like giving you a taste of what what I offer, like helping you in these workshops, but also maybe in some months, like there'll be a person in the audience that is watching this that's going to be like really resonating with how I teach, like my vibe, etc. And they'll like message me afterwards being like, hey, like I really want to work one-on-one with you. So that was one of the steps that I had, like getting these monthly circles up and running. I'd been thinking about it for months, but there's like that fear of like, oh my God, like will I be able to present? Will I mess up? Like will I forget what to say? So there was like all of that resistance that I had to work through. And then another thing so that's like having the monthly circles for me, that does seem like kind of like a big step, because I feel like there's so many little steps that led up to it. Your steps don't have to be so massive. Like it doesn't have to be something as big as like for example, for me, like hosting a monthly circle isn't as far away, and then maybe it is for my sister Urham, because Urham hasn't been in this space. Like it's way harder for her to like just host monthly circles than it is for me. So write your your things that you could do that are actually realistic and actually doable and don't make you feel stressed out. The other 2 things that I had for finances was keep up with bookkeeping, which is huge for me because I feel like I always overwhelm myself and get into this like stressful place when I think about my finances when I don't actually know what's going on with them. So like I feel like every time I actually sit down and look at all the income that I've made that month, I'm actually always leaving like, oh, I'm actually doing so much better than I thought I was. If I had done this sooner, if I had just sat down and gone through all these sooner, I would have saved myself so much stress, because my mind was just projecting worst case scenario when in reality the situation wasn't that bad. So keeping up with bookkeeping is another way for me to improve how I feel about this aspect of my life. And then the last one was, there's two more. One I added at the end because I was like, that's such a good one. One was attract more one-on-one clients, because for right now, I just finished my round of like the first couple of people that I had signed up, and we're like coming down. So my next goal after this monthly circle is going to be like promoting that and seeing if there's more people that want to work one-on-one with me. But my favorite thing that I'm going to be focusing on now to boost this area is I feel like me staying consistent with my morning routine. When you first think about that, you don't necessarily think of finances right away when you think of morning routines. But for me personally, I know that when I wake up and I don't go on my phone right away, and I do my yoga practice and I do my meditation practice, and maybe if I'm feeling it, my journaling practice, it really sets me up into a good mind space for the rest of the day. And it'll help me in my creativities to create whatever I need to create during that day, whether it's like even just being on a client call or even doing this workshop. Like I really made sure that I had my morning set up well, and I did all the things that I usually do, because I knew by the time I got to sit down for this workshop that I would actually be in a place that was less stressed out than maybe I would have been if I just got up, like rushed here and then just started, So that's another thing for me. Does anyone have any questions about? I feel like I've just been talking and I don't know what I'm saying, so let me know if you have any questions.
I have another question.
Okay, perfect.
So for me, the personal development and spirituality is quite low, but I don't know what I can do I don't really know. Like, can you give me some ideas?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we'll there's a section that I have that we can like go through this right after I do my next little thing. I'll give you another example of like what I'm going to be doing in love and relationships, and then Afreen, I think is that who's talking right now?
That's me.
Okay, hi, thank you for being here. Once I'm done my second thing, then we'll come back to yours and think of some steps that you could take. So another example for me is love and relationships. It's a 7, and like I said, this has nothing to do with Garrett. Like Garrett is doing fine. He's perfect. Like there's nothing that I need from him. That's also really important. Like when you're trying to think of the things that you can do, make sure that it's things that are things that you could do, not something that you need someone else to do, because that's not helpful. Like if I have a task that's like love and relationships, I need Garrett to like buy me dinner once a week. Like that's not realistic. Like that's just gonna cause more stress on it and actually drain some of the drain some of the life force. I don't know, like, and make the 7 maybe lower. So the 3 things that I wrote for love and relationships is, first of all, I feel like I've been spending so much time focusing on like this business and focusing on content creation and focusing on work and career and finances that I feel like I've been not spending as much one-on-one time with Garrett than I want to be. So step 1 is like spend more one-on-one time with Garrett, and whether that means scheduling it into my calendar, like going that hard into like getting it structured, or just being like every evening I'm going to hang out with Garrett from 8 p.m. onward, and I'm not going to be on my phone, and just like have really good quality time together. The other reason why my love and relationships is at a 7, like I said earlier, is because I'm doing a lot of like sexual healing work. Because some of you might relate, growing up in a South Asian community, there's just a lot of sexual repression that's made me feel super underdeveloped in this area, and it's affecting the way that I see myself in the relationship that I have with Garrett. And so the steps that I have for that, one's really easy. I'm reading this book called I'm gonna say it. The book's called Pussy by Regina Tomashauer. I think that's how you say her last name. And the whole book is just about reconnecting with our feminine side and reframing a lot of the ideas that we've kind of been fed and conditioned to think about being a woman, reframing that to something positive. So I talk a lot about intuition. If you follow my social media, and intuition is a very like traditionally feminine thing to do. It's like the feeling, it's like moving through the world through your feelings, and we're not really taught to do that because a lot of the time when we grow up, like feelings are very repressed. Like it's like you shouldn't be able to cry. You shouldn't be crying so much. Like I'm someone who cries a lot, and me being able to connect with that and not feel bad about crying is something that really helps me connect to my femininity. Because if you think about it, although men cry, like that kind of work like seems to be more like a feminine thing, and I feel like women are express emotion and feel more in it, but that might be a controversial thing. I'm sure men feel sorry, I'm just blabbing now. Sorry, I got distracted because I was reading the chat. Thank you for everyone who's encouraging me. Marcel, I'm so glad that you like the book. And Paris said, another great book to recommend is Breaking the Good. Oh yeah, that's one you recommended to Emily that I actually jotted down. So yeah, exactly. Just any book that helps me feel better about being a woman and feel like super empowered. That's like another thing for my love and relationships. And then the last thing that I have for that section is there's this content creator called Lizzie Jeff, and she really teaches sensuality, and she's just like such a bad bitch, and she's just so in tune with her sexuality and just like how she expresses it, and I just love that energy. And she has these like weekly circles that she does, and I like one of my to-dos is to like subscribe to her weekly circles so that I could be around someone that is already kind of like up here, like where I want to be, so that I can learn through her just in the way that she embodies it. I can kind of like download some of her codes, I don't know. So yeah, so those are some things that I wrote. Now, Afreen, is it okay if I stop sharing my screen now? Okay, cool, because I get to see you better. Okay, cool. So, Afreen, what were you saying again? You said that you're having a harder time trying to figure out like what things you could do for spirituality.